afternoon to you all. I believe that the usher is bringing the witness in, and then we can start soon after. Thank you.
I, Bruce Asemota,
Bruce Asemota,
do affirm that
do affirm that
I'll speak the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Asimota. Welcome to the TRRC.
Good afternoon.
You can leave the mic on and perhaps draw it closer to you.
Indeed.
We've met already, and you have been here covering the proceedings, so you know how things function here. But
Very
I'll
well.
still give you a few points to bear in mind. My name is Harija Balagay. I will ask you questions today on behalf of the commissioners. As you know, there's interpretation into the local languages. Therefore, I ask that you speak slowly, speak into the microphone so that the interpreters can hear you clearly, and allow a few seconds in between our speeches in order to avoid overlapping speech. Do you understand?
Very well.
I think you still need to draw the mic a bit closer to you. And if at any point you would like me to repeat or clarify any of my questions, please feel free to do so.
Okay.
So for your testimony today, we have an hour and a half, one session in which we will cover your background. So we'll talk about your biographical information. We'll address your educational background as well as your professional experience, just very briefly, so that the commissioners know who you are. And then we will focus the bulk of your testimony on the allegations of arbitrary arrest and unlawful detention that you have faced whilst conducting your career as a journalist in the Gambia. We will mainly address 3 incidents of arrest and detention, as well as an additional incident wherein there was an attempt to arrest you, but through various interventions that didn't materialize. Is that clear to you?
Okay.
So just to start your testimony, please state your full name for the record.
My names are Bruce Asemota.
Mr. Asimota, can you tell us when and where you were born?
I was born on the 21st March 1966 in Benin City,
And
Edo State, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Can you tell us a bit about your educational background, including which institutions you attended and the years when you attended those institutions?
Well, I attended Obaseki Primary School from 1972 to 1978. Then Western Boys High School from 1978 to 1983. Stayed a year.
Just to interrupt you, Mr. Asimota, they're having a bit of a difficulty hearing your testimony properly. Can I ask you to... Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Very
I was
sorry.
trying
I
to
was
find a
enjoying
delicate
it.
way of saying that.
Yeah, I was enjoying. It's a ginger mint.
Demint,
I just love
indeed.
it so that. Yeah.
If I can just get you to start again and tell
Okay,
us about
okay,
your
that's fine.
educational background.
Is it
Thank
not
you.
too? Okay. My names are Bruce Asemota, born on the 21st March 1966 in Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. I attended my primary school, that's Obaseki Primary School, from 1972 to 1978.
And where was that primary school located? Also in Benin City
Yeah,
or
in Benin
elsewhere?
City. It's a neighborhood, it's just located around my neighborhood in Benin City. And then I attended Western Boys High School from 1978 to 1983.
Also in Benin City,
In
right?
Benin City, yeah. And from there I stayed. The result came out and, I stayed for a year. Went to Institute of Professional Studies, where I read journalism. I did an ordinary, we call it ordinary, diploma course for 2 years.
And that was a diploma course in
It was a
journalism.
diploma course. You have the HND, you have the ordinary. But I did the ordinary, I couldn't wait because I love writing. My life is just writing, And from there I started contributing to the Observer. We have an Observer newspaper in Benin. So I was contributing to the Observer newspaper.
So as soon as you finished your diploma in journalism, you started your career writing for the
immediately.
Observer.
I just love writing. Sports, these sports, I normally travel with the football team in Benin City. You have the New Nigeria Bank, and then you have the Bender Insurance. They were in the Premier League in Nigeria. So I started with the sports coverage, reporting. Then later, the court.
So before that, while you were at the Observer in Benin City in
yes.
Nigeria,
Yes.
were you a freelance journalist or were you a
very
staff?
well, very freelance.
Please allow a few seconds
Oh,
in
yeah.
between our speech.
I'm sorry.
For how long did you work for the Observer in Benin City?
For 3 years, 86, 87, 88, 89. Yeah, I worked for about 3 years. 3 years.
And thereafter, what did you do in terms of your career?
I wanted to continue working in the country, but the system in place at the time, Babangida was the president at the time. And I remember taking part in the SAP demonstration. That's the university students.
Demonstrating against the government at the
SAP.
time.
There was this SAP issue that came up when the naira was depreciated. That's the currency we use in Nigeria. So I was part of the guys who were involved, because we were writing articles and I was publishing them. The University of Benin was, in fact, one of the key institutions in Nigeria at the time that spearheaded the SAP demonstration throughout the country. So reports were being sent, and then we were putting this thing in Observer, and then the time came, that was in 89, 90. So I couldn't stay, and then I had to just disappeared.
Why couldn't you stay in Nigeria?
No, I couldn't stay because during the demonstration, I could remember a colleague of mine when we were coming from University of Benin campus in the evening, Duke. He was shot while we were standing. We were running together, so he was shot. These are bullets. He was shot, he died, and then when I looked at him,
Sorry, Mr. Asimota. Please take your time. You have tissue next to you as well as a bottle of water, so please feel free to drink some water if you would like to do so.
We were standing together, Suddenly I saw him fell down. So I was wondering what happened to him. So I discovered that he died as a result of gunshot. And the soldiers were everywhere, so I felt I couldn't stay. I got home, stayed, told my parents that the situation at hand is not really okay. My dad being a lecturer at the university, then he told me to wait, that I can go to another state. Nigeria is big. But I know that, information is very powerful. They can come to Benin City, do the investigation, they know I'm with Observer, and they can trace me. So I had to just leave. I didn't listen to the old man because the old man wanted me to stay.
So if I understand you correctly, you decided to leave Nigeria because it was a hostile environment for journalists. Yeah. After you left Nigeria, where did you go next?
Yeah, I felt Ghana was another place, because people were talking about, journalism. Actually, Ghana was very far ahead in terms of journalism, press freedom, compared to Nigeria at the time. But when I got to Ghana, it was Jerry Rawlings that was there. So I stayed for some weeks. Well, after some weeks, I saw the atmosphere wasn't good. Then there was this General Kwampa, who was Jerry Rawlings' close friend. He killed, that man was murdered in cold blood at the very week I came there. So I felt the place was not okay again. I decided to move. Then I have no choice. I had to travel I went to Burkina Faso.
So you fled Nigeria because it wasn't a conducive environment for journalists.
Yeah.
Then you arrived in Ghana, noticed that because of the military regime there, it was also not a conducive place.
Kwampa was killed, General Kwampa.
And so you left Ghana and went to Burkina Faso.
To Burkina Faso. So I felt I could do a better job there, because Thomas Sankara, the death of Thomas Sankara was still echoing everywhere. So I felt I could do something. So, but when I got there, I think I met the sister, Thomas Sankara's sister. They took me to the graveyard where Thomas Sankara was buried. And then I was trying to conduct some investigations and then write up. But a friend told me that you don't speak French and you don't know who you're talking to. People can sell you out. They can give you to the authority, because Blaise Compaoré was still very powerful. He was very powerful at the time. So I felt that was not that the place was not a good place for me to stay. So I decided to leave. I went to Mali, Bamako. I was in Bamako.
So again, you fled another country because you realized you couldn't practice journalism freely.
I cannot work there. It was Bamako.
So you went to Bamako, Mali?
I went to Bamako. I was in Bamako. It was a bit fine because Moussa Traoré was the head of state. And things were looking okay. But a time came, there was this uproar, uprising in the country for Moussa Traoré to step down. So there was a series of demonstrations and protests. So after the overthrow of Moussa Traoré, General Amadou Toumani Touré, commonly called ATT, came, but it was still the military now. Then while in Bamako at the train station, where I was sitting with friends trying to find out, ask questions and all that, while in Bamako also, because French, I needed French for my job now. So I went to the French Cultural Center, where I registered for a 9-month course in French. I did that, then hoping that I will work there, but the military regime was not still okay. Then I met a Gambian in Bamako who told me that Gambia is okay. You have Sadada Jawara, and the Gambia was the headquarters of the African Commission for Human Rights, and so journalism, in fact, the country needs journalists. You know, he cited Radio Seed at the time, that there was no newspaper in the country at the time. That was 91. You know, no. In fact, said they have, you know, there was no newspaper here. That's what he said. You know, and then Radio Seed was the most, you know, is the radio that people listen to here. You know, so I should try to come to the Gambia. The way he spoke to me, and then he convinced me actually that there is peace, you know, it's a democratic government. In fact, when he talked about Jawara, I said, well, that's fine, you know, it's okay, I will try and see what to do. But when I contacted some friends, you know, a friend I spoke to also kind of, you know, said he want to come with me to the Gambia, that he's also interested in coming to the Gambia, but, you know, he's not a journalist. So, but I don't know. He's a Sierra Leonean. You know, at that very time, the Sierra Leonean war hadn't broke out. You know, so I decided to. I woke up one morning, and then I decided to just enter the train from Bamako to Kai. Then Kai, came out to the Gambia, to Tambacounda. From Tambacounda, I came to the Gambia.
So when did you arrive in the Gambia?
Gambia was in 91 October.
So essentially you fled another military regime in order to find a safe haven where you could practice journalism, and that's how you ended up in the Gambia.
Yes.
So you arrived in the Gambia in October 1991. Can you tell us if you started working as a journalist soon after, or did you do other work before you
in
pursued
91,
journalism?
I was here. I came here. I met Seri Boja, the present proprietor for the Standard newspaper, because he hosted me. Actually, I met him, and then in his father's place, who was the chief at the time, Yankuba Boja. So while I was there, he told me about that there was a man coming to the Gambia to set up a newspaper. At that time, it was the point that started running that was on this thing. Then Observer had not started operation. So, and then my neighbors also told me it's better that I should be engaged in some few things. I told them actually it is this, you know. So, and then I heard about this, The Nation that was run by Disinkoli, you know, with Fabakari. There was one of the journalists who was working with him as well.
So you heard about a number of newspapers that were either had already started, like The Point, or that were
The Point that
to
started.
come into existence.
Yes.
Did you work for any of the newspapers?
Yeah, I did file some reports to the Point, but you know the pay was, you know, as of that time, the pay for the remuneration was very limited. It was very small. It was very small. Like, you know, journalism in the Gambia wasn't really this thing. You work for papers, it's like they give you peanuts. So you don't really expect to make money, you know. So I didn't expect it was like that, because the Point was not ready to put me on this thing, which was run by...
They weren't ready to put you...
Yeah, it was freelance.
So they weren't ready to employ you yet as a
They were not
staff?
ready, yes. You know, you send your reports. In fact, Point was paying, I think, end of the month. With all your this, you pay. When Observer came, Observer was paying weekly. That's for the freelance reporters.
So when did you start filing reports for The Point newspaper? Do you recall what year that was?
The Point should be 92. 92. I did file reports. Because these were things, when I see certain things, you know, human interest stories.
Human interest stories?
Stories, yes. You know, like I remember writing about there were some streets in Brikama when it rained, and then it's kind of very waterlogged. I remember writing that story for Deda Adera, and then he loved it, and then said, we need stories like this. You know, that was during Jawara time. So we were free. You know, later,
Before that, sorry, you said eventually you started at the Observer because you mentioned that they were paying weekly, unlike
Yes.
The Point.
Yes.
When did you start writing articles for the Observer? That is the Daily Observer, right?
Observer should be in 93. As I was doing that, I was also doing private classes, private studies for students in Brikama. Then,
You said during that time it was very free, you could write stories
yeah,
without
you could write
any...
stories. You could write stories for a number of papers. But the fact is that you don't use your name. You don't use your name, you use pen name, because I've used a lot of pen name here. Many people call me so many names.
Why were you using a pen name at
Yeah,
that time?
sometimes the paper you work for, like if you're working for the Point now, you use a Bruiser Semota, and the Point management, they see your name in the Standard, they feel that you betray their trust. You kind of working for another newspaper, whereas they don't give you full employment. They expect you to, once you're working for the Point or contributing to the Point, they feel that they are your owner. You are their property.
Even though at the time you were freelance.
Freelance.
Not a
They don't
staff
understand the real term, the real word freelance. This is what most of these media executives do.
Time you weren't using a pen name out of any kind of fear. This is in 93, 94.
Yeah, in 93, I used pen name, I used different pen name, and after...
Did there come a time where you were concerned or you had fear in relation to the stories that you wrote for various newspapers?
Not really. Maybe after the junta took over, maybe that's the time I had fear. Then I used pen name. I'll be using pen name all the time.
What are some of the pen names that you used at the time?
I used B.S. Siddiq. I used B.S. Sane. I used S.B. Siddiq. I use Abubakar Siddiq. I use Bruce Asemota. I use many names. Musa Jame. I use Musa Jame.
Well, I won't comment on that.
I use a lot of names. I work for Independent. Baba Gale was my editor at the time.
So let's take it step by step. You said around 1993, 1994, you were writing articles and stories for the Point newspaper as well as the Daily Observer. You said the environment was free for you to work and you could do your work without any fear.
Yeah.
You said, however, that changed after the military takeover in 1994.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your experience in 94, soon after the military junta took over?
After the military took over, there was this new newspaper and news outfit that came, the Democrat, run by Martins, Mr. Martins. He's also a Nigerian. I think he capitalized on the situation and came here to invest on the newspaper business.
Do you recall his first name,
No,
Mr. Martins?
it's Mr. Martins.
Just Mr. Martins.
Yes. One Musa Kurubali introduced me to Mr. Martins. There I met Mr. Barry, because Barry was with Observer. I think he fell out with Observer, with Kenneth Best, because Alan, he was one of the people who orchestrated the arrest and deportation of Mr. Best. So he was now working with Martins. But when
Mr. Best being
the proprietor of Daily Observer.
So when did you begin working for the Democrat?
Well, that was in 94. In 94, after the military junta, it should be around August. It was just a news. It just came. I think July, the junta took over. August, he came. He wanted he wanted reporters. He wanted to move in, go into the market. You know, into the market, and he wanted reporters as well. So I joined him, and he was actually interested. He was good. He was encouraging reporters. You know, pays. You know, because he wants to go fit into the market. So I was working with Musa Kuribali, and I think 2 other guys. I can't remember their name though. So we were filing report, but suddenly I think something happened. You know, he disappeared.
Disappeared.
Mr. Martins, we didn't see Mr. Martins again. When we went there, but Mr. Haidara was the one who was actually helping him.
Mr. Haidara?
Deda Haidara, the late Deda Haidara, he was the one helping him. You know, so most of his work was being done by Mr. Haidara, typist, the secretaries. They were the one who normally collect our reports, and then they use it for Democrat. But Democrat came out about a couple of times, and then that was it, and the man disappeared.
Do you know what led to Mr. Martin's disappearance?
I think the name of the news outfit wasn't suitable for these people, wasn't good to them, because the name Democrat was not a name that the guys actually wanted. Because the junta, Jami and his cohort, Democrat, because this man, you know, he likes, you know, when you see him talking, you know, he's like, the junta wanted people to actually sing their praises. But Mr. Martins came from Nigeria, and then he wants to come and start a newspaper like that, and it wouldn't work. You know, and we were just following him, because for us, we are reporters, and we want to, anything that we see, we want to report, we want to write, you know.
While you were working at the Democrat, do you recall any incidents in which either staff of the Democrat or the newspaper itself was subjected to harassment and intimidation?
Okay, this, I don't know, no, not really, because suddenly I heard that this man left. You know, he just left. I know I think something happened. He was deported. Actually, he was deported, but no information, because I couldn't. There was no clue as to how he left the country, because suddenly he left.
So your belief is that his departure was the result of a deportation, as opposed to him voluntarily leaving?
Yes.
And after he left, did you continue to work for the Democrat newspaper?
No, there was no Democrat.
He left, that was the end of the
paper?
That
was the end of Democrat. Mr. Martin left with Democrat. You know, so after he left, Democrat died.
So it was only open for a few months from what you said?
Yes. You know, so that was when I went to the Point, because I knew Deda Haidara then, and then started working with Deda Haidara, you know.
Was that still in 1994 or 1995?
94. It should be 94.
That would have been towards the end of 1994?
The end of 94, yes.
Okay. For how long did you work at the Point newspaper?
Yeah, well, I file reports, Daily Observer, the Point, use names.
So you were still a freelance journalist?
Yeah, it's freelance. But, you know, they want to, the fact is, once you're working for this news outfit, the moment you're recognized or you're known, they kind of want to control, get hold of you, grip of you, that you belong to them. But as a freelance, you are free to exercise your rights, and then file reports for other newspaper, because you are not on employment, permanent employment, where you are these social benefit like the pension scheme, gratuity, or whatever. So why would one paper want to keep you down? You know, when you're supposed, in fact, the word freelance is you are free. You know, so one shouldn't keep you.
So did you at some point become a staff reporter for any of the papers, or did you
Staff
continue being
reporter.
freelance?
Well, for staff reporter, well, before I became a staff reporter, that was more than a decade.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that
So-
was just a few years ago. All the people have been using me.
So if we just focus on after the military junta took over, you said towards the end of 1994, you were a freelance journalist submitting articles to the Daily Observer as well as the Point newspaper,
Independent as well.
as well as the Independent
Yeah,
newspaper. During that time, did you did you face any kind of harassment or intimidation from members of the security forces?
Yeah, the incident of May 6th, I can't forget.
What year was that? May 6th?
Yeah, May 6th, 1996.
Please tell us what happened.
That was when there was a shake-up. I wrote that as a shake-up in the Gambia police force. You know, there was an article I authored in the Daily Observer, shake-up in the Gambia police force, in which the then IGP, Inspector General of Police, FRI Jame. FRI Jame was the IGP at the time. He was not happy with the report. He did a cabinet reshuffle, some reshuffle, a reshuffle in the police force, in the hierarchy. You know, moves the OC prosecution to another, there was some reshuffle made in the...
Your article was about staff within the Gambia Police Force being moved around. And FRI Jame, who was then the IGP, was not happy with your story.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what happened? What was his reaction?
He wasn't happy with the report because he said where he kept the report, the meeting, it was inside his file. So I think he was in quandary as to how I got that report, because it was during the weekend. And everything that was there, it was stated verbatim. You know, the postings, the deployment of the officers, the former positions to new positions. But it was as a result of fraud connected to a lady, Fatoumata Jallo. That's my Fatoumata Mahor, who was in the center of, because she was involved in the whole thing, because she was with the police force. But as a result of that, our involvement with the police officers, so there was this reshufflement. So FRI Jame wasn't happy with the report.
Where, in which paper did you publish that report?
On which?
The report, Shake Up in the Gambia Police Force, which newspaper was it
published in the Daily Observer.
Were you the only journalist who wrote about that particular?
I did that for the Observer newspaper. Dr. Jallo was my editor-in-chief.
Which Dr. Jallo?
Executive Secretary.
His first name?
Dr. Babagale Jallo. He was my editor-in-chief. Ibrahim Asise was my news editor, who was very interested in that matter. He was very interested in that story, because the story was a sellout. It was a market. It was a
But
big
were
deal.
you the only journalist who
Yeah.
wrote about that story?
Not really. The Point wrote similar to mine, but mine was the real shake-up, because it was a shake-up. But the Point wrote by Aliu Badara Sow.
Aliu Badara Sow of the Point
Of the
also
Point
wrote
newspaper,
about,
yes. And
So-
it was probably the same very Monday morning,
which is the 6th of May, 1996. Is that correct?
yes.
Can you tell us what happened as a result of you publishing that story?
They came to Observer to look for me. I think I was arrested in Observer premises.
Who came to Observer to
The
look
security,
for you?
the police officers, they came.
Police officers.
Yes,
Were they
plain clothes.
Just allow a few seconds in between our speeches. So plainclothes police officers came to the Daily Observer premises in order to arrest you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the actual arrest? Did they identify themselves? What happened?
Not really, they did not. Because they came there, and observer at the time, it was a mixed up. You have some loyal people, you have people who are loyal to the junta, because the place have been infiltrated with their guys. So they came and then asked for who is Bruce. Who is Bruce Asemota. The reporters are always there to point at. They just said that's the man. So I think they pointed at me and then called me. I came. As soon as they saw me, they identified me, I was manhandled from the.
What do you mean by you were manhandled?
I was.
Please describe that.
It was not an easy thing. It just squeezed me. About three police officers. They took me from upstairs down. Just the way they handled me was like I have killed someone. They just grabbed me and then scolded me. Took me down, pushed me into their vehicle, forced me out of the place, forcefully put me inside their vehicle, and then took me to Banjul. I think they stopped at the point to see whether they will get a new Badra, so they stopped at the point. Then the point was already at Gaba Jampa, number 2 Gaba Jampa Road, opposite around Timbuktu, to see whether they will get Aliu Badra, so they didn't get him. Aliu Badra wasn't around, so they took me to Banjul, locked me out, took me to.
So that story that you wrote, did you write it under your actual name or was
yes,
it a pen name?
Bruce. That's Bruce Asemota, the real Bruce.
So these 3 plainclothes police officers took you to Banjul police headquarters. Can you tell us what happened upon your arrival at the police headquarters?
Well, they didn't. There was no. I wasn't processed. I was placed there. I was, in fact, taken to the cell, to Banjul police station cell, and kept there.
Did they tell you why you were being arrested at that point?
No. No, they didn't tell me. The police officers did not tell me. They were only, I think they were instructed to arrest me and keep me at the Banjul police station. So.
Do you recall what time of the day it was when you were arrested? Just as rough estimate of the time, if you know.
Should be around
For instance,
midday.
was it during working hours?
Around midday, it was working hours on Monday.
After you were placed in one of the cells, well, before that, can you describe the cell that you were placed in and whether there were other people in that cell?
Yeah, I was placed in a cell with some common criminals. I was placed in a cell with some common criminals. I took it as this thing, detention is detention, but actually I didn't know that there has to be some distinction. I know I should have been kept behind the bars, maybe sit with them and all that.
When you say common criminals, what are you referring to? What types of crimes had those people allegedly committed?
Well, people charged with different crimes, because I can remember some officers coming there to torture some other people, some other detainees.
What do you mean? Tell us about that. What do you mean by
Yeah,
that?
detainee was tortured in my presence, very, very seriously.
How was he tortured? Please describe who that detainee was, if you know. And how he was tortured.
I cannot actually say the identity of the detainee, but the detainee was tortured in my presence. That detainee, I don't know if he will survive. He was stripped naked, beaten. He was tortured.
Beaten with what?
Electrocuted.
The presence in the cell.
Yes, not in the cell, but outside because in the cell you detain people in the cell, but you take them out. You know, that is after working hours. That's around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. You know, they tortured him, electrocuted him. These are, I don't know whether they are police officers, because these were people who were not, they don't wear uniform. I actually was not interested in these things, but I only felt sorry for this guy, that how could they how could they torture people like that or beat detainees like that, you know?
Where you were standing, could you see what they were actually doing to the detainee?
No.
Or did you hear about what was done to him?
No. I saw him.
You could see from where you were?
Yeah, I could see, because I was free to move around at the time.
Within the cell?
Within the cell. So when you're standing inside the cell, you can see the detainee being tortured. The way he will be crying, shouting, screaming, you know, and then you see they did. I saw these things. I saw that. You know.
And do you recall how many people were torturing this detainee?
My mind wasn't actually on. I was thinking of my freedom. I was thinking of my freedom at the time. What was coming next, because I knew at the time it was not safe to be arrested or to be in their distance, so in their custody, you know. So I wasn't actually, my mind was not on this guy.
But you told us you saw him being beaten and electrocuted.
I saw
anything
him.
else? Do you recall anything else that was done?
He was beaten. Very tough guy, huge. Was muscular. You know, this was not one person beating him, but three heavy guys came and beat him, tortured him, electrocuted him, shouting from time to time, you know, so.
How much time did you spend in that detention cell at the Banjul Police Headquarters?
I spent 21 days.
21 days?
Yes.
During that period, you told us that after you were arrested, the plainclothes police officers stopped at the point to try to look for Mr. Aliu Badara Sow.
Yes.
Was he eventually found?
He was eventually arrested and brought to Banjul headquarters, police headquarters.
So the
we
two
were
of you
detained together with some other detainees.
So you said you spent 21 days there. During the time that you and Aliu Badara were detained, were you questioned by the police?
Yeah, from time to time, they will come and take us, you know, one after the other, take us up, ask us who is the source of our information, who provided the information for us, to us, concerning our publication. But we actually deny, we actually refuse to disclose our source, because our source is always a police officer. It was one of them. Those, you know,
And who was conducting the questioning? Do you recall any of the officers involved?
At first, they sent some plainclothes police officers to come around. Some were detained with us. We didn't know that they were informants. You know, so we were detained. In the evening, they will release them. You know, so during the daytime, we'll be detained. We'll be in the cell together, chatting. They're always our friend. They come close, try to ask questions. How do we get the information we wrote? Who gave us the information? But we were concerned about the veracity of the report, whether the report we published was factual or not. So after we confirmed that it was the true thing, the true picture that we published, then we had no fear. So the only thing now is our source. And our source, we cannot disclose our source. So that's how we maintain our position during that detention period.
During that time, were you given access to a lawyer?
No.
Were you charged with a crime?
No, something that is truthful. They can't charge us. What actually happened was that Dede Adira took the whole thing upon himself, because Dede Adira also knew that he cannot intervene, because he was also not in their good books. he contacted Tenelabe.
Who is that?
Tenelabe, that's Godfrey Tenelabe, the High Commissioner for Nigeria to the Gambia, because he was the junta's friend. So as the High Commissioner for Nigeria, he quickly contacted him and said, "You better go for your brother. These people will deport him." Because I think he heard that they've already there was a deportation order made against me, made for my deportation, sent to Kababajo, who was the Minister for Interior.
Which Kababajo are you?
Lamin Kababajo, who was the Minister for Interior.
And do you know who was seeking your deportation? At whose request was your deportation? Who was trying to get you deported?
Yeah, Faroua Jammeh.
The Inspector General of Police at the time.
He doesn't want me.
How do you know that?
Faroua Jammeh, no. I know Faroua Jammeh.
Do you know that he was the one seeking your deportation?
In fact, the first thing he wanted to do was to just get me out secretly. You know,
what do you mean by that? What happened?
Just to deport me secretly, just like they did to Martins and some other people. There were people that were deported that were never on record. You know, so, but he couldn't do that because the fact is, I've already featured in in the papers, and then my name was all over the place. BBC carried my arrest. A lot of international media outfits carried my arrest and detention. So to just take me out of the country like that is not going to work. So they need to follow the proper maybe procedure. So this is why the deportation order was sent to Kababajo, and Mr. Adela got wind of it, and then contacted Tenelabe. So Tenelabe, I think I was surprised. I was in the cell because actually Nigerian Commissioner wasn't my friend. You know,
you said he was a friend to the junta.
He was a friend to the junta, but I don't know how Adela convinced him to come, because Tenelabe was also helping the junta to deport some Nigerians here.
But in your case, he
intervened. In my case, I was surprised why it didn't happen. It was I kind of see it as a destiny. You know, I was surprised. I became his friend after that incident. Tenelabe appeared in the police station, came to see me. I was surprised when people said, the High Commissioner is here to see you. I said, I don't know him. I've never been there. I've never seen him. And he came and then brought some food. You know, so...
So you told us that the deportation request was sent to Lamin Kababajo, Interior Minister at the time.
Yes.
What happened then?
I think Kababajo refused to sign that order.
Why?
Because primarily Kababajo is my neighbor in Brikama. I don't know, because I know the father. When the father was alive, I think the father was sick at the time, but I know the father. I know the mother, I know the family. We were neighbors. My compound is just nearby, just adjacent to Kababajo's compound. So we know each other. He was a commissioner in Brikama. So I knew him, and he knows me as a journalist. You know, I was very frequent in his place. So he was a brother, as a friend, and a friend then. So I wonder why he didn't act. So maybe because of my personal relationship with him. Because it was at the same time that Chikeluba was deported. It was two names, two of us.
Who was deported?
Chikeluba Kene Chuku. They are another reporter for the Daily Observer.
The Daily Observer.
Yes. Chikeluba was deported at the same time. It was two of us. I think the two others were placed on his table. So I think he signed Chikeluba's deportation order and refused mine.
So during those 21 days, did you ever appear before a court?
No. No.
Were you allowed visitation from family and friends apart from the Nigerian High Commissioner?
Well, I think the first 2 weeks I was detained incommunicado. It was after 2 weeks. That was when Deda Idera broke the information to Tenelabe. For the first 2 weeks, nobody was allowed to see me. Even my colleagues from the Daily Observer, Ibrahim Asise, made a lot of effort to see me, contact me in the cell. And some reporters as well were sent to come and see me. None of them were allowed. They were given access to see me. It was after 2 weeks, the third week when I think the plan failed, the High Commissioner came in and the deportation order was refused by Kababajo. So that was when I started seeing friends. Primarily the police officers also were also my friends, you know.
Because some of them were your sources.
They were my sources. They were my sources. They were coming from time to time, telling me to maintain and not to because FRI Jammeh will skin them. He was ready to sacrifice anybody for his position.
But how do you know that FRI Jammeh was the one behind your arrest as well as your request, the deportation request?
Well, finally I met him. When he discovered that I couldn't disclose my source, he requested to see me.
While you were in detention?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Tell us what happened.
Spoke to me. We had a meeting. Spoke to me. Then Lamin Jobate was the OC prosecution at the time. Lamin Jobate, Bambandi, was the OC prosecution. He was sitting. He was in the chair, sitting there with FRI Jammeh, and then he spoke to me, advised me to stop reporting about the police. That the police, they are my friends. I said, I understand. But public information, anything about the police is public information because they are paid by the taxpayers. Money. So, and the police is the first area. Once the police is okay in any country, you are safe. Because I know where I came from. I'm from a country where we have police officers participating in armed robbery. That was the last story I wrote about Iyamu. He was a commissioner of police who was involved in armed robbery in Nigeria. And that led to this enemy saga in Nigeria, where armed robbers will steal. They have the police officers who was giving them arms, selling them arms. So security of any society depends largely on the police. If you have good police officers, then fine.
So it was based on your conversation with FRI Jammeh,
Yes.
as well as Mr. Lamin Jobate at the time,
Yeah.
that you concluded that it was FRI Jammeh who was behind these attempts to arrest you,
Very
as well
well.
as your actual arrest, as well as attempts to deport you.
Yes, because he said police are my friends. I said fine, they are. I'm not. The police they are my friends, but I think he has a problem. He has his own personal problem because he knows he wasn't. He was that type of the old-fashioned police officer, you know. And we'll come to that later in terms of training because at the time only few police officers were, trained, having some kind of training.
So I just want to focus on on this incident in May 1996. So you said you spent 21 days there. Did Aliu Badara Sow spend the same amount of time?
Aliu Badara Sow spent, I think, 14 or 16 days. He was released first because they were now trying to find a way to get me out.
To deport you?
To deport me. So Aliu Badara was first arrested. I was first released.
So during that period, the 21 days, did anything happen to you? Did anyone do anything to you?
In relation to what?
Specifically, were you tortured?
Well, no, not really. Not really. Because at that time, the international media it was all over the world. So they know any little thing that happens to me, that will be, they won't be happy with it.
So after 21 days, what happened?
He called me again into his office.
Who called you again?
FRI Jammeh. He ordered the police officers to come and to bring me up to his, I think the second floor. So Jobate was sitting by his side, and then he warned me again that, look, I'm going to leave you to go. but you should stop writing about the police. Then I said, yes, sir. Then I left. I went downstairs, and then I think from there, I went home.
So on this first occasion, you were arrested for writing a story that was true about fraud and a shake-up in the police force.
Yeah.
Basically, staff being shuffled around. You were not charged. You were detained for 21 days, and then you were released with the advice that you shouldn't write about the police anymore.
Yes.
After that, did you stay in the Gambia after you were released?
I was still in the Gambia, but I decided to take another line, because this one was purely on the police issue. So, but I decided to go to the courts. You know.
Did you have another run-in with the police as a result of your activities at the courts?
All right.
Please tell us about that.
I did. That was why I returned to Brikama, and then I felt there was no need for me to be coming around the Greater Banjul area, like Banjul or Serekunda and all those places. Then I now stationed in Brikama Magistrate Court. You know, I was at the Brikama Magistrate Court. Cases are coming. You know, at the court, when reports come, when you are at the court, you can't distort any information. So you sit and take jottings of the court proceedings. So I was now in Brikama Magistrate Court, and then following the proceedings at the court. Then there was a time, the presiding magistrate at the time, Lami Gassama, was the presiding magistrate at the time. I think he's in Dakar now or something like that. He should be in Dakar, you know. So a matter came before him. This matter has been coming, and the police had refused. The suspect had always been taken before the court, but the court cannot proceed with the matter. The police officers, the prosecutors could not proceed with the accused person, simply because they don't have witnesses. Every time they always ask for adjournment. I think there was a day the presiding magistrate was very angry and said he was going to release this suspect if the IGP fails to. He used that word IGP, not the prosecutor. He used the word IGP, that if the IGP fails to produce witness in the next sitting, the next adjournment date, he will release the suspect. Then I took it.
So you wrote about that?
It was a headline that magistrate vows to acquit and discharge, to discharge a suspect, something like that. It was on the paper. It was published in Daily Observer. You know, the magistrate.
Do you recall around what time this occurred? Was it still in 1996, or was it?
96. It was in 96.
So sometime after May 96, when that first incident
it should
occurred.
be around July. July. So he wasn't happy with that report.
Who wasn't happy with that?
FROI Jame, that Bruce again. So
Bruce again, is that what you said?
Yes, yeah. Bruce again. Because I have police officers, the senior police officers, they are always with him, they know. So he called a meeting and said he has written another one again about the IGP, about the police. So I think he ordered for my arrest, and then it was these green youth boys from the area council. I know one of them.
What do you mean by green youth boys?
Green youth boys. These are APROC green youth boys.
The APRC green boys?
Green boys, yes. They spotted me as I was coming from the office, from the Daily Observer, as I was going home, because normally I pass the magistrate court, facade, the frontage there, and then, so one of them saw me and said, I think the police had communicated to them, because they were part of the system. They could easily arrest, they can easily arrest as well. So
Sorry, you're saying the APRC Green Boys
Green Youth, yes. The Green
acted-
Youth, they acted, yeah.
acted with the police and
Yes.
they could also arrest individuals. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, he spotted me, he saw me. When he saw me, he called me. You know, on a friendly note, I went to him.
Did you know him before?
I know him. He's area council. He works at the area council.
What's his name? Do you remember?
Aliu.
Last name?
Aliu, I can't remember the last name because most of it's Aliu. I know him. Aliu
So
is
Aliu
there.
called you over.
Aliu called
What
me.
happened?
Aliu called me. He was disturbing me. You know, he said I'm wanted at the police. I said, for what? You know, asking for what? What's your problem with the police? You know, he said I wanted. And then he heard me. He heard me, and then some of his guys contacted the police. Because they worked together. The Green Youth, they were very powerful. You know, now we are talking of freedom here. But then, Green Youth, they don't have problem with them. You know, Aliu heard me.
How did he hold you?
Yeah, he heard me by this thing. Who am I to? I couldn't talk. I was just, he asked me to sit, that I should wait. And then I waited. After a while, he contacted his guys, and then the police officers came from Brikama police station and escorted me to the station. You know, they didn't tell me what happened. You know, when I got to the station, then I think the SO at the time, I can't remember his name, brought a copy of the Daily Observer and asked me who wrote this article. I said, yes, I'm the one who wrote it. Then I asked them, what's the problem with it? They said, so you wrote this article about my Inspector General of Police? I said, what's the matter? But the magistrate said this thing. And Lami Gassama, the magistrate, was in Brikama. He resided in Brikama at the magistrate quarters. So I think somebody who had it contacted him. He drove down to the station. Lami Gassama drove down to the station.
The magistrate?
Magistrate Lami Gassama. To the station and asked them, why are you people keeping this man here? He asked them. I think their response was they were ordered or directed by the IG to detain me.
IGP being FRI Jame.
FRI Jame. You know, so he just laughed, and then I think he asked them to give him the phone. He contacted him. After some conversation with him, then the police asked me to leave.
So Magistrate Gassama contacted FRI Jame, the IGP.
Yes.
And after their conversation, then you were released.
Yes, I was released.
So you were released on the same day, is that correct?
The same day, yes. I was released on the same day, in the evening. It was late in the evening.
Where were you detained on that occasion? Where within the Brikama police station?
Counter. Normally it's the back of counter.
Sorry, say that again? Behind the
back
counter?
Of counter. You know, you have the charge office, that's this thing. Then behind, that's where I was asked to sit.
So again, this was another incident wherein...
That was another incident, yeah.
This was another incident wherein the IGP ordered your arrest because of a story that you wrote in which they believed the IGP was made to look bad because they couldn't produce a witness
Yes.
for a court case.
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification. Is the magistrate's name Musa Gassama or
Musa
Lamine
Gassama.
Musa Gassama.
Correct.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, Musa Gassama. Forget. That's my editor-in-chief.
So on that occasion, you were released. Did you have any other run-in with the law enforcement?
Some months later, I had another run-in with the law, with FRI Jame again. Then that was in Kanofi Magistrate Court. B.Y. Kamara was the magistrate at the time. Kanofi Magistrate Court. Magistrate B.Y. Kamara, Master, popularly known as Master. I think he's late now. He presided over a case a police officer was involved in that case from Bakau police station. And it was in connection to a theft case. The police officer was involved. He was dismissed from the police service and then prosecuted as well. So when the matter got to the court, the magistrate wasn't happy. Magistrate B.Y. Kamara wasn't happy that this man was being punished twice. You either dismiss this man from the police force or you can, maybe he should be prosecuted differently. But he was being prosecuted at the same time, and then this man was dismissed from the police force. So Magistrate B.Y. Kamara wasn't happy. And then he made a statement during the trial that this suspect should not be given double punishment. I was in the court. I wrote that I think the IG again, he mentioned the IG. But normally they were, I think they are, it's not me talking about IG. They talk about
You're
IG.
merely
I just
reporting
report.
they said.
Yes. So he did not talk about prosecutor, but he said it's the IG. It's like they kind of understand that the IG was not, it was those old type who belong to the field force.
What do you mean by that?
The field
What
force,
was his
field force
attitude?
commanders, the field force, this thing. These people were not kind of, educated, to man that position. But I think it was kind of a compensation because he was in Jawara regime, and actually, each time these things happen, get the right people, the right police officers, and the right position, the right places to do their job, than just bringing all kind of officers to work anywhere.
So your view was that the IGP at the time, FRI Jame, was not suited to be in his position?
Very well.
Which is why he constantly reacted to stories that you wrote
yes,
about the police.
Yeah, because this was an issue that he could have solved himself, not to the level of, or to go to that extent of arresting me or harassing me. I was only trying to put him right.
So tell us what happened after you wrote the story. Were you actually arrested?
I think we got information. I think they came to Observer. They were looking for me. They went to Observer to look for me. They didn't see me. They came to Brikama. They tried to get me. They couldn't get me. I've already got information that they were after me. So I went on the underground for some time. Then contacted B.Y. Kamara. I think the office contacted B.Y. Kamara because Ibrahim Sise was still my editor. He was very, very helpful, very good, So he contacted B.Y. Kamara, and then B.Y. Kamara requested that I should come and see him. Then after some days in the hiding, then I now went. And while I was with him in his chambers, took the copy of the publication to him. He read it, looked at it. He said, but there is nothing wrong with this publication. I made a statement. So why is this man following me? I said, he has the power. So he called him in my presence again, spoke to him.
Who did he call in your presence?
The FRI
Jame.
FRI, yeah. He called him, and then after some time, then he asked me to go to the office. I went, I left the office, I left his chambers, I went to the Daily Observer's office, maybe waiting if he would react. I didn't have any word with FRI Jame, but I left because I think he wanted to secretly do something. But now that B.Y. Kamara was aware, I think, and he has spoken to B.Y. Kamara, I think he forgot about his plan of doing anything to me. So I was free for some time.
So you weren't arrested on this
I
occasion?
wasn't arrested. That was after some days I went into hiding because I couldn't hide anymore. You know, and my office was also worried. My editors were worried that they need to contact BY Camera. They did. And then he requested that he wants to see me. And I went, took the article, called him, spoke to him, and then I left.
So this was yet another incident in which the police wanted to arrest you as a result of a story that you wrote about the police.
Yes.
And on this occasion, you received information from, is it from one of your informants that you talked about earlier or someone else?
Well,
Information that they wanted to arrest you.
I have informants in the police. I have friends.
And the information was that it was FRI Jame himself who wanted to arrest, who ordered your arrest.
Always.
So after this incident, did you stay in the Gambia or did you go somewhere else?
I was here still doing my job. I have other, then, you know, working with these July 22nd youth boys as well, you know, because like they kind of, that's the guy there, so one has to be very careful. But I'm always at the court because I know I can't go out. There are places I don't need to go. But at the court, I feel safe.
Just a point of clarification, the incident that we just talked about in which FRI Jame ordered your arrest, but you weren't arrested, you told us it happened some months after the previous incident, which was in 1996. Do you remember exactly when this incident occurred, this last incident?
I'm not good in keeping dates. Well, I have documentation of these things, but they got burnt when my house got burnt in 2015. So they were all there.
In your statement, it says it was in January 1997. Does that sound correct to you?
January 1997. Well, that is another incident when somebody came and informed me. It was an informant, a police officer, who told me to leave the country. That should be January, February, March, something like that.
I just want to make sure that we're correct. So the last incident that we talked about in relation to Magistrate B.Y. Camara, in your statement, it refers to that incident occurring in January 1997.
Yes.
And then the time when an informant told you that you should leave the country, that occurred in March 1997. Does that sound correct to you?
Yeah, okay, right.
Can you tell us about the March 1997 incident when a police officer came to you to tell you to leave the country for your own safety?
I was in the house. I think I just closed. It was in the evening. Then the informant came and told me that it is not safe for me to be around now. That FRI it's not safe for me to be in the country.
FRI, you didn't finish your sentence.
FRI Jame was still the IG, so it's not safe for me to be in the country. You know, at the time, you know, that I should try and leave the country. I said, for what? Where am I going again? Because traveling, you know, for me, it's not really my way. You see, so, well, I decided to make some arrangements.
But did the police officer tell you what the threat to your life was about?
Well, he told me my parents are not here. I'm alone in this country. Then I wasn't married, no kids, you know, and I think the only person that was close to me was my landlord. My landlord who, you know, and so he just felt he should advise me that I should leave for my safety.
And he made reference to FRI Jame again?
Yes, that they are after you again. This man wants you again, so it's not safe for you to be in the country. So I decided to leave. I went to Bissau. I think I had to pay a taxi driver to take me through the back way to Sileti. from Sileti, I went to move on to Guinea-Bissau. I went to Guinea-Bissau.
How much time did you spend in Guinea-Bissau?
I think Guinea-Bissau, because this armed trafficking was the order of the day at the time. So I felt that was an opportunity for me to do another job, to do a good work there.
Write about arms
to write about arms trafficking, which was with the rebel group there. And then Asomana Mane was being accused. Vera was on one side, Asomana Mane was on the other side. So I was on this armed trafficking, writing on this armed trafficking from Guinea-Bissau, and I was sending reports, because then I couldn't send report to the Gambia, because I was filing reports to New Africa Magazine.
New Africa Magazine.
New Africa Magazine, actually New Africa Magazine. And there was even a time when Guinea-Bissau changed from using the peso to the franc CFA. So in fact, these things were published there, armed trafficking. Rebel heard me one time when I went to Casamas to investigate this arms trafficking incident. I was hurt, almost killed. My camera was destroyed, my recorder. In fact, I thought that was the end of everything, because they pointed gun. These people cannot even understand. They tied their thing and they pointed gun at me. They could have shoot. They caught me in the bush, took me. But I told them, I just want the truth, because they said you people are the one who is on this armed trafficking, who is dealing on armed trafficking. I tried to speak to them, because now I can speak French. That's in Casamas, because they were also involved in robbery and all kind of things. They were using their independent thing to be doing all kind of things, and then this armed trafficking thing, So, and then in Gambia, in Guinea-Bissau as well, when they left me, coming to to Guinea-Bissau, I had another incident with the guys at the Guinea-Bissau area. So
again, in relation to your work as a
journalist?
journalist?
To the work, yes. They took my recorder, they took everything,
So did you eventually leave to come back to the Gambia?
But I was there, but that's the job. I was in Bissau until the war. I left Guinea-Bissau a day before the war broke out, when they attacked Asomana Mane. That was the day the war. That was in June, 1998. Because it's like I got the information that something was going to happen. That was the day before the attack. So I left. And because
Did you go?
No, I felt it's Gambia.
You came back to the Gambia in June 1998?
June 1998. But then I think FRO Ajami had gone. It was Sankumbaji that was here at the time.
It was who?
Sankumbaji. Sankumbaji was the IGP at the time. So I think, well, we get information there. Gambia embassy was this thing, but I don't go. I have Gambians who are friends, and then I send them to the embassy. We get information about what is happening here. But as a journalist, you don't go about talking, telling people that you are a journalist. You just do your this thing. But in relation to the Gambia embassy, because the Gambia embassy was kind of there, they were kind of, you don't go to Gambia embassy even in Dakar. When I went to Dakar, I didn't report at the Gambia embassy. Even in Guinea-Bissau as well, I didn't report at Gambia embassy. But most of my friends were Gambians,
So you came back to the Gambia in June 1998?
1990, no, it should be, not actually June. June 1998, that was when, I came back to the Gambia in June 1998.
So after you came back to the Gambia, were you arrested at any point
No,
thereafter?
Nobody knew. FRI Jammeh was no more the IG. It was Sankumbaji.
Were you at any point arrested on the orders of the court, of the Gambian court?
That was by IKEA.
When was that?
Emmanuel Nkia, that was in 2012.
Tell us about that.
Justice Nkia.
By Justice Nkia?
Emmanuel Nkia.
Okay.
It was in connection to an article I authored in the Daily Observer relating to one of the convictions he made, the sentence, conviction, the trial.
Do you remember when in 2012 that occurred? When exactly?
It should be July. I should be in July.
In your statement, it says on the 11th July 2012. Is that correct?
11th July, then released the next day, because I was sent to my tool.
So just step by step, you said Justice Nkia ordered your arrest in relation to a story that you wrote about a conviction that he issued in one of the cases. What was the issue with your story?
He said I got everything wrong. But that report, I got that judgment from the DPP at the time, which was Mikalo. The DPP at the time was Mikalo, Abdullahi Mikalo, who gave me the judgment. Because I waited for the judgment. He delivered the judgment, but I got the judgment from Abdullahi Mikalo, and I published it. But if he had any issue with me, he should have talked to the DPP at the time. But he didn't. And then he later ordered the sheriff of the Gambia to arrest me, and said my report was totally wrong. And being the umpire of the court, all I had to say was, okay, because he's a judge. And during that time, and it was one thing, it was July. Prior to July 22nd, this thing is like a big day. Everybody wants to be recognized. So he actually wants to use me.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, prior to July 22nd every year, something, people must be very careful. People can be used as a sacrificial lamb because July 22nd is coming. So the ex-president is always on the media. Anything, any publication, and people want to be in the media that they are in support of his July 22nd takeover. You could remember at that time, you did not say July 22nd military coup. It's July 22nd revolution. That was in the popular name. So every judge, magistrate, police officers, in fact, security officers want to be associated with the July 22nd. So if you write anything, and I will happen to be a victim when I published this article in July, so he felt he wants to make name and be recognized by the ex-president. So the easiest way was to...
That's how you felt?
That is it.
So he ordered your arrest on the 11th July 2012, and you told us that you were sent to Mile 2.
Yes.
Would that be the remand wing?
Yes, at the remand wing.
Can you tell us what happened in relation to that? Did you appear before the court after you were remanded?
Yeah, I was detained that very day. Then I spent the night there. But I think Nkia wanted to keep me for days there. But there were some kind of interventions from some quarters.
Who, sorry?
From some quarters.
Some reporters?
Not reporters, but primarily from quarters. Primarily from the then Chief Justice, Emmanuel Ajim, who was also his boss, because that was the Chief Justice. So Ajim wasn't happy.
How do you know that?
Ajim, yeah, that was this thing. He confirmed me. He told me that, but before Nkia, we go to that extent of sending me to my tool, we should have contacted him. And then the sheriff, or rather the master, that was Joseph Effie, who is also a Cameroonian, like Justice Nkia. He wasn't happy that, why now are we fighting ourselves? But he quickly understand that this man was on a different path because he wants to be recognized by Jammeh. You know, so Ajim wasn't happy. So Ajim said he would talk to him after I was released because my bag was in Ajim's office the day I was arrested, that 11th, because I was arrested in Ajim, the Chief Justice office. When they came for me, I told them I was going to, when they came for me, I left my bag in Ajim's office and then went. The next day I came and collected my bag.
So when were you released?
The next day I was released.
And what led to your release? Or who released you, rather?
Well, he's the one, because normally it's just for formality.
Who's the one?
Inkia was the one.
The same judge who ordered your arrest?
Yeah,
was
who
the
ordered
one
my
who
arrest, yes.
Released you?
It was just formality, because I know that he will be under pressure, that he was not supposed to arrest me. I wasn't, but the fact is that he was serving a bigger master than Ajim. So he had to make it, he had to paint it in a form that he was.
What reason did he give you for releasing you?
Well, he said my report was wrong. I misreported, I misinformed the public and all that. I told him, well, I'm sorry. You know, if that is the case. And then he told me that I should get the correct judgment and report it, which I never did.
Because
as
far as you were concerned, your report
was
accurate.
Okay, but he just wanted to intimidate me.
So I'm almost at the end of my questions. You've told us about multiple incidents of arrests and detention, including an attempt to arrest you. During the 3 arrests that you told us about, there was an attempt to even seek your deportation, but that was blocked. So you were lucky, unlike some of the other foreign journalists. You gave us instances of your run-ins with the law enforcement, which also led you to flee the Gambia for a period of time, and then return about a year later. What impact did all of these incidents have on you and your family in terms of your professional career as a journalist in the Gambia?
Well, I see all these arrests and intimidation as a game to silence me, or to silence me from executing my job, and psychologically it was when something happened to somebody, not physically but mentally, it's something that when you kind of sit down sometimes and look back at what had happened, I give God the glory though, but it has impacted on me greatly. Because I also saw the whole thing as a test case for me. Knowing very well that I'm in a country I call my home, because I regard Gambia as my home, compared to where I was born and brought up. I spent more years in the Gambia now than where I was born and brought up. So actually, like when I was the last arrest, I was just taken after saying goodbye to my kids and my wife, only to find myself in my 2. No communication. I tried to communicate, but I couldn't, because at my 2, they take your phone and then, strip you from all your belongings. Imagine if my wife was waiting for me that day, expecting to see me, and she didn't see me, my children. They went to school. And myself hoping to go back home, I didn't return. So it has a great impact on me, Though I wasn't treated so bad in my 2 prisons, that's at the remand wing. But actually it impacted on me, We're not talking of the mosquitoes as well, though, which I didn't sleep throughout the night. Because for me, I'm that type. Any little mosquito that flies around my ear, I will never sleep again. You know, I never sleep throughout the night. It was when I was released, I went home straight to sleep. I didn't sleep throughout the night because I hear the noise, the motorist noise throughout the night. I was awake throughout the night, you know. And the previous arrest, the harassment, leaving the Gambia, going to Guinea-Bissau where I don't know anybody. Because I've never visited Guinea-Bissau. I just left. They informed me like today in the evening, and the next morning I had to go. And I didn't know anybody, you see. So it was a difficult time. But I thank God it's over. I thank God it's over. You know, and I don't pray that the Gambia should return to that dark ages, that dark hours again, where journalists don't have press freedom. You know, most of the things that happened from 1994 till January 2017, I was privy to many of these things. Though I don't write, but I get informations because I have contacts all over. There are informations I know I will not do, I won't write. So I only capitalize on the court where you cannot dispute any information. Once you come and testify, that is before the court. I have to write that. But other informations I was privy to so many informations. But I feel that the papers also, the media, the editors, some of them, they can't carry my stories. When I come with stories, they will not. They bank them. And that wasn't the job. So I had to just let things lie low and go as, you know, things were being done. You see. That is it.
Thank you very much for answering my questions, Mr. Asimota. I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Chairman for the commissioners to ask additional questions. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Council, and thank you very much, Mr. Asimota. I think from what I heard in your testimony, you are a journalist, 100%. When you were in Guinea-Bissau, I think I probably misheard you. You were writing about arms trafficking, not involved in arms trafficking. Is that correct?
Yes, I was writing about arms trafficking. Not involved in arms trafficking. No. Okay. I will never involve in arms
I just
trafficking.
wanted that clarification that I misheard you. Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions? Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Bruce Asimota, you did mention that you used several pen names to write articles to various newspapers. Now, can you explain how were you being paid?
Well, I use a lot of names. If I can remember, more than 8 different names. And before I start filing reports to different newspapers, I usually discuss with the editor-in-chief or the manager or the media outfit. And then we agree that, look, please, I'll need some protection and I'll be using this name. Once you get it, you know that that's my name. I've used a lot, I did, and they will have very simple understanding, and I was using different names, pen names. Because journalism, I think in journalism you are free to do that, you know. So in order for your protection, there are pen names. So this is what I was doing. But like the Independent, I never used Bruce Asimota in Independent, you know. And sometime at the point, I wasn't using Bruce Asimota. Even in Observer, after I had that problem with FRO Ajame when he started disturbing me. I started using pen names, a lot of pen names, and they know it was me. And sometimes I'll write an article without using my name. They know that that's my report. Because for my safety, this is what I was doing.
Sorry, but you did not answer how were you being paid, since if you use Ansumana Jame and so on and so forth, how were you paid?
Okay, for as freelance journalist, the media outfit, they usually pay me based on my reports, and then they usually pay me. But if you are trying to quantify, I don't know if maybe when you say how was I paid, are you talking in terms of the sum, large sum, or maybe
No. For example, I mean, if you are working for an institution, they will pay you, the voucher, the payment voucher, will have to carry your name. Or if they are paying you a check, the check will have to carry your name.
Okay, but I think in the Gambia, journalism in the Gambia is quite a different. It's quite a different case, because we are paid over the counter in the Gambia. There's nothing like check. Who will write check for somebody here? Gambia journalism is still at a very low pace. They pay through this. You go to the office, they tell you, they just count this money and give it to you. But if it is large sum, they can give you a check. You go to the bank, fine. It was only the Daily Observer that was a bit big, like when you're a staff reporter, But for journalists, that is a pity. It's a pity. So, but we are paid through the counter. It was always through the counter. You go to the cashier or the accountant, and then he looks at it and give you. I think that's the way we are paid. I hope that answers your question.
Somehow.
Yeah, you can have
but when you go to the counter,
yes,
you should produce an identity so that the cashier paying you will know that he is paying Usman Jame.
I think maybe you're looking at journalism in the Gambia like the BBC and other stuff. This place, people are in shape. Journalists are not paid in the Gambia. We just work. It's a sacrifice. If you are a journalist in the Gambia, you don't expect to be a rich man or a rich person in the Gambia. I think that is the fact. If you go to any outfit, media outfit, they wouldn't. ID card. How much are you coming to collect that you need an ID card? I don't know. I think when you want to collect some large sum of money that maybe somebody had to identify you, and then something like that. Sometimes you even go to your editor-in-chief. He will just take the money and keep it for you. Maybe like less than some hundreds, some hundreds, or some less than, you keep it for you. You collect it and give it to you. It's a very little this thing. I think journalists in the Gambia, they are sacrificing. But I think the problem with the Gambia journalism is the media chiefs. It's like the slave masters. It's like the slave masters using the slaves to do the big job or the dirty job for them, and then they get rich. I think that's the way journalism in the Gambia is. Because I've never seen any instance where I was given a check to go to the bank that no, I've never been paid through the check. Even Observer, which was one of the best media outfit in the country, it wasn't like that. It wasn't check. You have your pay slip, because I was a staff reporter at the time. But some other newspapers or media outfit, which I use my pen name and all that, maybe 2 or 3 reports in a week, and then they pay me this thing. You have no choice. It's like a beggar has no choice in the Gambia. You work for Independent today, you write some stories for Independent, you write some stories for The Point, another story for the Daily Observer, and when they discover that it is you have a problem. You have a problem with the management of, some other, media outfit, because they want to kind of control you to work for them, and they wouldn't pay you. And that's not the case. I think they should understand the term freelance journalism or freelance journalist. I think that's I think that answers your question, that I've never got check in any of the media outfit, including the Marketplace, which was a magazine here. I write. There are informations in the country. There are news. I write.
Thank you very much for that. Council, you wanted the floor? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to seek a clarification, because what I understood, Bishop's question is about how the people paying you knew that you were the one behind the stories.
They know.
You started explaining that the editors-in-chief and the people you dealt with knew it was you, but when you published the stories in the newspaper, that's when you used the pen name. So the people who paid you knew that it was Bruce Asimota writing those stories, even if you used a pen name in order to publish the stories. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I should jump in here to clarify, help Bishop understand what happened. Okay, so for every week, Bruce Asimota has written, for 1 week he's written as Musa Jame, he's written as Tumbul Tamba, and he has written using different names, and he has written also using Bruce Asimota. So when he comes to claim, he will list all the stories. I know he is all of these names, but he will list all the stories that he has written for that period, and then the editor would approve payment. So that is what he takes to the accounts department for payment, and payment was done in cash. So even if he uses different pen names, we still know that it is Bruce Asimota. Does that clarify it for you, Bishop?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. But you must have paid him a lot, so you should know. Thank you very much,
Perhaps the witness...
Council, you have some more points?
Indeed.
Yeah,
because the Executive Secretary cannot testify,
no, I know.
He was trying to clarify a point, but it's now up to the witness to basically clarify whether that is what happened or not, so that it's actual evidence in the record. So can you clarify if what Mr. Babagale explained is in fact your recollection of how it all happened?
Very well. Very well. That's the way it works. He is the editor-in-chief. He was the editor-in-chief in Observer, in Independent newspaper, where I used to send reports, I used to file reports, and that's exactly what we do,
Thank you for that confirmation. Mr. Chairman, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council, and thank you very much, Mr. Asimota. Would you have any final remarks to make? Did get into a few things here and there, but you have the floor if you have anything that you want to conclude.
Well, I should have something to say.
Splendid. Please go ahead and do that. I don't think we have any more questions from the commissioners. So please go ahead.
Well, it's all about the never again, which is the slogan now, and never again will become a reality. Well, first of all, let me thank the TRRC management for their work in fact, for setting up TRRC. It's a dream come true for the Gambian people, because I have no doubt that the TRRC we accomplished its mandate. Then the never again will be a success if all Gambians is involved in this process, because we really need to involve everyone. I'm a reporter, come a journalist, or rather a reporter, journalist. I meet people, I talk to people, some talk to me with confidence. They know very well that there are certain reports I cannot write, put on the papers. But my reason for saying this is that we still have some factions, some people who doesn't feel interested in the work of the TRRC. They see the TRRC as a witch hunting. But I want to make this point very clear, that the TRRC is not a witch hunting exercise. So, you have some Gambians. I'm not talking of my people. I'm already a Gambian, whether people like it or not. I live with them, I've been with them since Jawara time. Jammeh came, Barrow came. That they should embrace the TRRC. TRRC is for the whole Gambian, and for the whole world, Africa, so that we can achieve, so that TRRC can achieve that objective, that mandate. Because I meet people who who feel that TRRC is always witch hunting their people, their tribe, or whatever, party or whatever. I don't want to name party, everybody knows. But Gambians should come out to embrace the TRRC so that it will work. Gambia is one. I lived in this country before Jammeh came. I never know who was a Jola. I didn't know who was a Mandinka. I was having notebooks then when I came. I read different tribes there. When I asked them, they interpret it and write for me. Then we don't even know who is Jola. I don't know who is Mandinka, who is Wolof. But it was after that I knew that there was this Mandinka, Wolof, Fula, and Jola. So please, if Gambia can return back to that time where Gambians will see themselves as one, that I will be happy. Even when I die here, I go. I will know that yes, my dream is, I have achieved in fact, the TRRC has achieved that slogan. Because this never again, we need to, the religious part is nothing, but it is the tribal issue that is a problem here. So I am urging the TRRC to please do all it can. Do all it can, I repeat, do all it can. The area I live, Brikama I live, places I've traveled in the country, it is the tribal issue that is the problem in this country. Gambians should see themselves as one. There's no Wolof, no Mandinka, no Fula, no Jola. They should do that so that this country can move forward. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much indeed for those very wise suggestions and advice. And thank you again for coming to testify before the commission. Thank you. We will meet tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Yes, boy.